All right, let's get right into it. The Class 12 Maths exam. I know, it can feel like this huge, scary monster. But here's the thing. It's a monster that has a pattern. And in this explainer, we are going to crack that code. I'm going to give you a clear, strategic roadmap to help you walk in there, navigate the paper, and absolutely maximize your score. First things first, the magic number is 80. The entire game is played for 80 marks. Every question, every formula, every single step you write down is a move toward that final score. And the key to winning? It's knowing exactly where those 80 marks are hiding. So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to decode the exam blueprint itself. Then, we'll tackle the big guns, one by one. The absolute giant that is calculus, the powerhouse of vectors and 3D geometry, and the pure logic of algebra. And to finish, we'll wrap up with some key strategic points to really seal the deal. Okay, Section 1, the exam blueprint. Look, knowing the structure of the paper isn't just some boring info, it is your secret weapon for strategy. Understanding this blueprint is your absolute first step to mastering your time and walking into that exam with confidence. So the paper is broken down into 5 parts, each with its own style. Section A, that's your quick-fire round of 1-mark questions. Sections B and C start to ramp things up. But listen up, this is important. Look at sections D and E, the long answer and the case-based questions. Together, they are worth 32 marks. That's nearly 40% of your entire grade right there. This is where you have to invest your time, because this is where they test if you can actually apply what you know. Now let's look at where the points really come from. Just look at that massive slice for calculus. You can't miss it, right? 35 marks. That is insane. It is practically half the entire exam. After that, vectors and 3D geometry come in with a very respectable 14 marks. You see, this chart isn't just data. It is your priority list. Which brings us to the main event, the big boss, calculus. Seriously, with 35 marks on the line, mastering this unit is completely non-negotiable if you're aiming for a high score. So let's break down the key areas you really need to conquer. Okay, let's talk about a super common trap that trips a lot of people up. A function can be continuous, but not differentiable. This happens all the time at sharp corners or KISPs. So here's the pro tip. You always have to check both the left-hand and the right-hand derivatives at those tricky points. And the chain rule? You gotta make that thing your best friend, seriously. And this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. For the function x minus 1, see that sharp V shape it makes? As you come towards x equals 1 from the left, the slope is a clean minus 1. From the right, it's a positive 1. See? They don't match up. So boom, the function isn't differentiable right at that point, even though it's totally continuous. Now, this is where calculus gets super useful. Want to find the highest or lowest point of something? It's simple. Find where that first derivative hits 0. Those are your critical points. Then, you hit it with the second derivative test. If the result is positive, you're at the bottom of a valley, a minimum. If it's negative, you're at the peak of a hill, a maximum. Easy, right? Okay, switching gears to integration. This formula, integration by parts, is a tool you absolutely, positively have to know. It's not optional. But the real secret isn't just memorizing the formula. It's about choosing your U correctly. And for that, we have a little cheat code, LIATE. That's logarithmic, inverse, algebraic, trigonometric, and exponential. You pick your U based on what comes first in that list. Let's put it to the test. We've got the integral of x times e to the x. So x is algebraic and e to the x is exponential. What comes first in LIATE? A does. So U is x. It is that simple. You just plug it into the formula, and the rest just flows. You really want to practice this until you can do it in your sleep. All right, we survived the calculus boss fight. Now, let's move on to the next heavyweight contender, vectors and 3D geometry. This one's worth a solid 14 marks, and it's a really cool mix of thinking in 3 dimensions and just knowing your formula's cold. You know, one of the biggest things here is knowing which tool to pull out of your toolbox, the dot product or the cross product. Think of it this way. If you need a single number, like an angle or a projection, think of it like a shadow, that's a job for the dot product. But if you need a whole new vector that points in a new direction, maybe to find an area, that's your cross product. Right tool, right job. And speaking of formulas, you are going to want to tattoo this one on your brain. The shortest distance between 2 skew lines. I'm telling you, this is a classic long answer question. It looks like a beast, I know, but it's really just a recipe, using the dot and cross products we just talked about. Nail this formula down, and you've basically just locked in 5 marks. Next up, algebra. We're talking matrices and determinants for a cool 10 marks. This section is less about crazy abstract concepts and more about following a clear process, kind of like a logic puzzle. And, well, it's also about knowing the shortcuts that'll save you a boatload of time. Finding the inverse of a matrix is a classic problem. And honestly, it's just a 4-step recipe. Step 1, get the determinant. Quick check. If it's 0, game over. No inverse exists. You can just stop right there. If it's not 0, you find the adjoint. And then boom, multiply by 1 over the determinant. Done. Now, this is where you get smart and save yourself a ton of time. These are your determinant hacks. You do not have to grind through every single calculation. See 2 rows that are exactly the same? The determinant is 0. End of story. Move on to the next question. Knowing these little tricks is literally the difference between a problem that takes 5 minutes and one that takes 30 seconds. It's a game changer. Okay, let's pull it all together now. We've tackled the giants, but we can't let any of those other marks slip through our fingers. So here's a quick lightning round on how to grab every last point you can get. First, don't sleep on relations and functions. It's 8 marks. Make sure you know your function types, injective, surjective, all that jazz, and have those inverse trig principle values nailed down. Then you've got probability, another 8 marks. For this one, it's all about conditional probability and Bayes' theorem. You master these 2, and that's a quick 16 points in your pocket. That's huge. And please, for the love of all that is good, do not forget about linear programming. Seriously, this is usually one single problem with a graph, and it's pretty much a free 5 marks. It is practically a gift from the exam setters. You just have to be ready to take it. So if you walk away with just 3 things, let it be these. Number 1, calculus is king. It's almost half the paper. You have to own it. Number 2, know the structure of the exam. It's your roadmap for managing your time. And number 3, use the tricks. These aren't cheating. They're about working smarter, not harder. So there you have it. That's the blueprint. The entire strategic guide to all 80 marks. The plan is officially in your hands now. The ball's in your court. So the only question left is, what are you going to conquer first?